Goosebumps Horrorland, Revenge of the Living Dummy, chapters 7 through 9. What happened last time was at the end of chapter 6, there was a really loud buzz, and Brittany, the main character, goes, "Oh no, my mind!" So the characters are Brittany, Molly, which is Brittany's best friend forever, Ethan, who is Brittany's cousin, Mr. Bad Boy, which is Ethan's dummy, Brittany's mom, Brittany's dad, and Mr. Malloy, which is Molly's dad. So here we go. Chapter 7. Whoa, wait, I heard the buzz again. My brain whirred. It took me so long to realize the doll wasn't buzzing. The sound came from my cell phone. I let out a sigh of relief. It was only my wild imagination going berserk again. I pulled the phone from my pocket and flipped it open. A text message from my mom. "Dinner almost ready. Come home soon." I told Molly and Mr. Malloy we had to leave. Ethan started whining that he didn't want to go. He wanted to stay and check out the other weird dolls and objects, but I was happy to get out of there. The Mind Stealer doll was too creepy to think about, and Mr. Malloy admitted he didn't even know if it was safe to keep it in the house. I knew I'd have nightmares about it. When we got home, Mom was going crazy in the kitchen, with 2 pots steaming on the stove and a chicken roasting in the oven. She blew a strand of hair off her forehead and smiled at Ethan. "I'm making my famous roast chicken in honor of your arrival tonight," she said. "Not quite ready." She turned to me. "Why don't you go up to Ethan's room and bring down the rest of your junk?" Ethan gave me a hard tug that almost knocked me over. "Come upstairs, fat face. I want to show you my comedy act with Mr. Bad Boy." "Fat face?" I cried. "Don't call me fat face. Butt breath." He giggled. "Stop it," Mom said. She lifted a pot lid and ducked back as steam poured up. "Name calling isn't funny." "Yeah, right. Don't call names, you moron," Ethan said to me. He tried to jam his elbow into my ribs, but I dodged away. "Please, go upstairs," Mom said. "Let Ethan show you his comedy act." "Mom, give me a break," I moaned. "That dummy is so totally lame." Mom dropped the lid back on the pot and pulled me to the kitchen door. "Go up there with him, Britt. He wants to share something with you. That's a good thing." "But Mom—" "And don't make fun of the dummy," she whispered. "Poor Ethan obviously needs a friend to talk to. So he made one up. Go up to his room and be nice to him." I let out an exasperated sigh. But then I forced a smile to my face. "Okay, Ethan," I said, "let's go do it." He let out a cheer and went running up the attic stairs. The dummy's wooden head clunked on each stair as Ethan dragged it by the arm. I glanced around the attic. My old room, I missed it already. The room was long and narrow with bright yellow walls. Some of my posters were still hanging up. My desk stood in front of the window between 2 twin beds where Molly and I had spent many sleepovers. No room for sleepovers now, I thought, in my tiny sewing room. And then I scolded myself. Don't be bitter, Britt. You'll get your room back when he leaves. Ethan pulled out the desk chair and sat down on it. He set Mr. Bad Boy on his lap. I dropped to the floor, settled onto the white shag carpet, and leaned my back against the wall. "Don't laugh too hard," Ethan said. "You'll hurt yourself." "No problem," I said. "If you need me to explain any of the jokes, just let me know," he said. I rolled my eyes. "Just do your act, okay?" Mr. Bad Boy grinned at me. His eyes opened wide. He had such an ugly smile, totally evil. "Brittany, is that your face, or did you forget to take out the garbage?" the dummy said. His voice was a shrill rasp. "Be nice," Ethan scolded the dummy. "That's my cousin." The dummy leaned towards me. "Brittany, something just reminded me of the banana I had for breakfast." "Oh yeah, your nose!" The dummy tossed back his head and let out a long donkey laugh. "I'm a bad boy." "Is this your act?" I asked Ethan. He shook his head. "Sometimes Mr. Bad Boy doesn't cooperate." "Yeah, right," I muttered. "Be good," Ethan scolded the dummy. I like your long hair, Mr. Bad Boy said to me. Too bad it's all growing on your back. I burst out laughing. The joke was terrible. But Ethan was a really good ventriloquist. I couldn't see his lips move at all. Mr. Bad Boy, please, Ethan pleaded. Be nice to Brittany. The dummy's eyes stared into mine. I know we've just met, he said in his harsh, raspy voice. But I'm a very romantic dude, and I have 3 little words I'm dying to say to you. 3 little words? I asked. Mr. Bad Boy nodded. Yeah, take a bath. I couldn't help myself. I laughed again. I had to admit, I love rude jokes. I guess maybe it's because I'm always so nice. Is that your face? Mr. Bad Boy asked. Or are you standing on your head? I groaned. Don't blame me for these bad jokes, Ethan replied. Blame Mr. Bad Boy. He turned to the dummy. You're not very nice, he told it. Then stop putting words in my mouth, Mr. Bad Boy said. That made me laugh too. I'm a bad boy, Mr. Bad Boy exclaimed. You're an awesome ventriloquist, I told Ethan. How did you learn to do that? Ethan set Mr. Bad Boy down on the bed and walked over to me. He shrugged. I don't know, just practice, I guess. I slapped Ethan a high five. Well, good work, dude. I really think you're talented. And then I gasped. Because across the room, Mr. Bad Boy turned his head to me and opened his mouth in an ugly laugh. Chapter 8. How did you do that? I cried. Ethan's smile faded. I didn't do it, he said. He took his hand out of his pocket and pointed to Mr. Bad Boy. He did. I frowned at him. Can't you ever be serious? But I am serious, he insisted. I was trying to be nice to Ethan, but he always had to act like a jerk. I decided to give it one more try. You know, everyone in my school has to do 1 hour of public service, I said. That bites, Ethan said. Listen to me, I snapped. I've got a good idea for you. I'm going to give a painting lesson at my great-aunt's retirement home. Maybe you could come too and do a funny act with Mr. Bad Boy. I bet they'd love it. Cool, Ethan replied. Yeah, thanks. Maybe I'll practice some new jokes with him. Good. Your jokes are funny, but you need some that aren't so nasty, I said. I heard a rustling sound from the bed. Over Ethan's shoulder, I saw the dummy raise its head again. It opened its mouth and let out a long burp. I laughed. That's pretty good, Ethan, I said. Come on, for real. How do you do that? I'm telling the truth, Ethan said in a whisper. I didn't do it. He grabbed my arm. Please, believe me, Brittany. Sometimes it's like he comes to life or something. I pulled my arm away. Yeah, right. And monkeys can fly to the moon. But then I saw that the kid was trembling. On the other side of the bedroom, Mr. Bad Boy laughed again. A high donkey bray. I almost fell for it. But then I remembered all the dumb tricks Ethan played on me the last time he visited. He was a total trickster. He just loved making me look dumb. No way I believe you, I said, so stop it. Give me a break. I'm trying hard to be your friend, Ethan. I want to make you feel at home here. Big whoop! The dummy chimed in from the bed. I grabbed Ethan by the shoulders. Tell me the truth, I said. How are you doing that? He lowered his head. He shook. I thought he might have tears in his eyes. I am telling the truth, he whispered. This time, you've got to believe me, Brittany. Before I could answer, I saw the dummy raise its head. The mouth worked up and down. I could hear the click of the wooden lips. And then the dummy screamed, I'm alive! Don't you get it, Brittany? I'm alive! Ethan grabbed my arm and held on tight. Help me, please, he cried. I don't know what to do. Chapter 9. I laughed. I remembered Ethan pretended to break his leg during his last visit. I totally panicked and called 911. After that, he made fun of me for days. No way I was falling for this cheap joke. Nice try, I said. Good acting job, Ethan. But do you really think I'm a total sucker? He didn't answer. Instead, he stamped down as hard as he could on my foot. I let out a cry and hopped backward till I hit the wall. "You jerk! That's not funny!" I screamed. "And that stupid dummy doesn't scare me." I waited for Mr. Bad Boy to laugh again or say something rude, but he didn't move. He was just a dumb puppet. I turned away from my bratty cousin. I still had some things to carry down to my new bedroom. I gazed at my framed schoolboy poster. It showed them rocking on stage at Radio City Music Hall in New York, and it was autographed by every member of the band. Buzzy is my favorite band member. And he looks awesome in this poster with his shirt off and both fists pumping the air with all his tattoos showing. I grabbed the edges of the frame and carefully started to lift it off the wall. "Brittany," Ethan said, "I think you better leave that poster up here in my room." "Excuse me?" I said. "You're kidding, right?" "Schoolboy is Mr. Bad Boy's favorite band," Ethan said. "Sorry, he loses," I said. "It's my favorite band too, and I'm hanging this in my room." Ethan tried to pull my hand off the poster frame. "Please, Brittany," he said in a tiny voice. "What is your problem?" I snapped. I want to keep Mr. Bad Boy happy," Ethan replied. "If I do something he doesn't like, he might hurt me." Ethan had this terrified look on his face. He really was a good actor. "Tough cheese," I said. "Tell you what. Sit Mr. Bad Boy down at the laptop. Let him go online and order his own poster." That time I made Ethan laugh. "Come on, you two," Mom called from downstairs. "Dinner's on the table." "1 minute," I shouted. I lifted the poster off the wall and carried it down to my new room. It didn't have much wall space, but the poster fit on the wall above my desk. I carefully nailed in the picture hook and hung it next to my favorite picture, an oil painting I did of Phoebe, our old dog who died last year. I missed Phoebe. The painting made me sad. But it was definitely my best painting, a nice way to remember her. I made sure the schoolboy poster hung straight, then I hurried down to dinner. Mom had dropped a plastic jug of apple cider. She was on her knees on the kitchen floor, mopping up the spill. "I can't believe I dropped that," she muttered. I grabbed some paper towels and helped her dry the floor. She handed me the half-empty cider jug. "You'd better carry it to the table," she said. I'd drop my head if it wasn't glued on." "I don't believe it," I said. "We're eating in the dining room? We never eat in the dining room unless company is coming." "I thought we'd make it a special celebration because of Ethan," Mom said. Dad was already at the table, spreading his napkin over his lap. Dad looks like he comes from another family. He's very tall and skinny as a scarecrow, and he has short, white blonde hair and furry, white blonde eyebrows that move up and down over his blue eyes like caterpillars. Mom calls him her blonde freak. Dad thinks that's hilarious. In front of him sat Mom's famous roast chicken on a blue platter, waiting to be carved. And next to it, a big bowl of mashed potatoes and bowls of applesauce and string beans. A feast. "How are you and your cousin getting along?" Dad asked. "Peachy," I said. Before I could say more, Ethan stepped into the room with Mr. Bad Boy slung over his shoulder. Mom pointed to the chair at the end of the table. "Why don't you sit there, Ethan, next to me?" she said. She smiled at him. "Let's all sit down and get to know one another." Ethan hesitated. He looked quickly around the table. "But you didn't set a place for Mr. Bad Boy," he said. Mom and Dad exchanged glances. Dad shrugged. "We can set a place for him across from you," Mom told Ethan, "next to Brittany." She pulled out a placemat and napkin and set them on the table. Then she hurried into the kitchen to get silverware. Ethan placed the dummy in its chair, then walked around the table and sat down. Dad chuckled. "Do we have to serve him dinner?" Suddenly, Mr. Bad Boy's eyes popped open wide, and he rasped, "I'd rather eat roadkill." I burst out laughing. Let's face it, Ethan really cracks me up. Dad glared at me. "Don't laugh at that, Britt. Your mom worked hard on this dinner." "Huh? Me?" I cried. "I didn't say it. He did." I gave the dummy a shove. Then I took a long sip of milk. "Shouldn't she pluck the chicken before she cooks it?" Mr. Bad Boy cried. I started to laugh and choked. Milk came spurting out of my nose. That made Ethan and me both laugh even harder. I couldn't stop choking and laughing. "Enough, Britt," Dad shouted. "It's not funny." Mom entered the room and sat down. "What's not funny?" she asked. "Brittany decided to act like a clown tonight," Dad said, frowning. "Why are you picking on me?" I cried. "It's not my fault. Ethan—" "Help yourself to some mashed potatoes," Mom said, pushing the bowl to me. She turned to Ethan. "Are you excited to have a big new room of your own?" Before Ethan could answer, Mr. Bad Boy chimed in. "I'm so excited I just peed my pants." I couldn't help it. I burst out laughing. The mashed potato spoon flew from my hand. A big gob of potatoes sailed across the table and smacked the front of Dad's shirt. I watched the potatoes slide into Dad's shirt pocket, and that made me laugh so hard I couldn't catch my breath. "Brittany, maybe you'd better leave the table and calm down," Mom said. Dad glared at me angrily. "You're really asking for trouble," he said. "Me? Why me?" I managed to choke out. "It's not my fault." "Just settle down and eat your dinner," Mom said. "It all looks delicious," Dad said. Once again, Mr. Bad Boy's mouth worked up and down, and he rasped, "I throw up better food than this."